the show's about. We just want to know a little bit of your backstory so that the young lads that are aspiring to be the next Jamie Bosio and the next Carl Goldwin know what the dedication is to get there. So I don't know which one of you wants to start off. Maybe Jamie, you want to tell us when you were obviously junior football. The one thing, I had a couple of questions actually, or not questions. You're born in Ireland, Jamie. So
yep.
You could have played for Ireland, but you chose Gibraltar. So that's dedication in itself.
Okay. I think Martin O'Neill came knocking on my door.
Kyle, you need to sort out your Wikipedia, mate. You see, it says 6 foot on there, okay? 6 foot, I'm 5'11", all right? Okay? Jamie, all yours, mate.
Nice. I came to Gib when I moved here when I was about 10 years old. So I was born in Dublin, lived there for 8 years, and then spent 2 years living in the UK. So my junior football in Gib didn't start till I was about 10 or 11. But the experience I had there was slightly different. I kind of spent a year at the Peterborough Academy, spent a year in the Leicester City Academy before coming over, and then all of a sudden for Glasses. Yeah, really.
Fair play.
Yeah, nice.
I was at the Peterborough Academy.
No wonder Neil wanted you in the program.
I didn't know anything about this.
I was at the Peterborough Academy for about a year, and then they had the financial trouble where they had to choose between their first team and leaving all their junior teams, and they had to kind of close down the posh academy. That was when they were in the old Division 1, when they had like Barry Fry manager and all that. And then I went on to Leicester for about 8 to 12 months before moving back, over to Gib for the first time to live. And the first person I met was Javi Sanchalfaro when I was 11 years old, and he took me to a Glasses training session, which was, if you think about it, quite different to the academy upbringing you get from like the age of 9 and 10 in the UK. So kind of what the upbringing I had was very, very different to probably the upbringing that normal Gibraltarians would have had at the time when we talk about youth development. We were kind of playing home games, away games, traveling together. We were put on like proper academy diets at the age of like 9, 10 years old. Didn't know what a McDonald's was and hadn't eaten until I came to Gibraltar, for example.
But did you feel out of place when you came to Gib?
It was a bit of a shock, yeah, culturally, a little bit. Like my family and stuff, my parents were both from Gib, so we'd come over summer holidays and that, spend time with the grandparents. But as in football culture was very, very different to what it is now. Now the younger kids, I suppose, they've got a bit more science to what they're doing here, and a few clubs are trying to put a bit of emphasis into the upbringing of their youth academies for the potential future of their first teams. But when I got here, it was very, very different. So Javi took me in, and I started playing for Glasses until probably the age of 18. Went off to university. Went off to university just at the wrong time, probably for me, because when I went to university, Gib just had got into UEFA. So I kind of was missing that what I'd been doing since the age of 15, playing in Premier for Glasses United. And then
you were playing that early, were you? At 15, you were playing Premier.
Yeah, 15, I was playing Premier with the likes of Christian de Soisa, Michael Felice, Keith Aguea, Al Green. So those were the players that I was training with from a young age. And for me, that was an experience. Kevin de los Santos in goal.
And I had the pleasure of playing with him in, was it Laguna? In Laguna. I think we just coincided for a year, but he was playing striker back then.
Really?
Yeah, because he got bored. He got bored of playing goal, and that year he played up front. He scored the winner in the Rock Cup final.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had him as a kid at Gib United, and some games we used to put him as a striker.
Yeah.
What a keeper, man. Yeah. I had the pleasure of having a few training sessions with him, and it was almost impossible to score a penalty against him.
We would train with him, and we would do the penalties at the end, and he'd tell us where we were going to put the penalty.
Yeah, unbelievable, eh?
Yeah, he was that good.
Brilliant.
So like from Glasses, and then I moved on to university for a few years. I was playing with the university team, and in my third year of uni, I signed for College Europa, who were in the second division at the time. And we won the second division. And then the year after, I'd moved back to Gibraltar because I did a gap year where I started doing my teacher training here. And that was the year that we got into the Europa League. So it was the first year that I was back.
You're the first local captain to play European football.
Yeah.
So it's in your file anyway.
We got into Europa League straight away with literally from nothing. Like we turned up in the summer. Manolo was brought in. Manolo Sanchez was manager into college Europa at the time, and from there it kind of just spiraled. And then the clubs at that point started to put the money into the league and into their
What
team.
was the sort of shock in European football? Sorry, Carl. What was this? Was it a shock to play European football? What was the level like?
It was a bit surreal. Like our first game, it was against Vaduz, who were in the Swiss first division at the time, but they qualified because they were the champions of the Liechtenstein Cup. And we went away. We played the first game there. We lost 3-0, but we were 2-0 down within 6 minutes. And I remember looking up at the scoreboard and thinking this could be a very long game. But 3-0, we kind of kept it respectable in our first game. Went back to the stadium, and the complete change in climate, they suffered massively. And we only lost that game, I think it was 1-0, but we played with 10 men the second half. But it was a good experience, I think, for us that season. And then we kind of I think the owners started to invest a lot more into Europa at the time, and I worked under quite a few managers there at college. Well, Europa with the Bosnian Bruno as well, Akrapovic. He was quite a good manager, quite militaristic.
Lovely guy. I spent the month with him in Germany, and he's quite a character. And I don't think given enough time here, he could have done something special.
Yeah, we always said that. The problem that Europa had when we were there originally, which is probably what they have stopped doing in the recent years where they've been successful, is when we were there those first few years, they were chopping and changing managers like there was no tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And in that year in particular, that first year, Manolo was there and we were flying high, and then all of a sudden they got rid of him and they brought in Juanlu, who had been around the scene before, and he was kind of our coach during the semi-finals of the Cup, and we got to the Cup final, and it was that Cup final where Platini came over, and that's where we kind of got our qualification into Europa League that season. But the years after that, it was a lot of changing managers that I think, and changing the squad. It was a lot of just bringing people in, shuffling the whole squad out again, loads of players in January. And if you look at Europa now, what they've been doing and why they've been so successful is they've been more or less keeping the nucleus of their squad together. But back then we had quite a few young Gibraltarian players that are now, if you look at them, Jamie Coombs, for example, at Lincoln. Ethan Jolly's still there. Lee Coombs, I don't think he's playing as much anymore. Eamon was there with me. Matt Kafer, for example. All those guys have gone on to other teams and have done relatively well. Yeah, it's true.
Kyle, you tell me about you.
Hey.
You're an enigma, okay? So one thing I did know, I heard the rumours. You were brought up by Lincoln. So you've gone full circle. Yeah. You've gone full circle. Yeah. You've gone from youth football, Lincoln.
I did all my youth at Lincoln. When the likes of Alfred Barbara, may he rest in peace, was one of my coaches, and Pepe Mauro and his brother were there. So yeah, I spent all my youth. But obviously, when I got about to the age of 14, 15, I was never a tall keeper. I'm still not a tall keeper. But the reserve keeper we had at Lincoln was much taller than me, Julian Fortuna. So I used to play the whole season. And when there came the big match against Manchester, because it always used to be Lincoln and Manchester back then, he used to play him. And all my teammates would beg him, please don't put Julian, don't put Chino in, put Chino in. So I got to a point where I got a bit tired and I stopped playing. I stopped playing for a couple of years. And then a friend of mine, Kalelul, they call him Huevo, he gave me a call and he said, listen, we're down at Laguna and we've got Fortuna in, but we still think you can do a better job than him. So why don't you come around training and that? And I started again. We started playing for Laguna. And then they merged with Glasses. And this was just the year after I started.
This is still 11-a-side football?
Yeah. This is pre-UEFA.
Okay, cool.
And they wanted to merge with Glasses. And because I only been there a year, I said, listen, my honest opinion is, because we had a good team in Laguna. We had about 5 or 6 GFA players. The likes of Jogan Santos, Kyle Bea. We had a few good players. Aaron Payas. There was a very good squad. And they wanted to merge with Glasses, and I said, man, my humble opinion, Glasses what's going to want is they're going to want the 5 or 6 GFA players that we have, and the rest of us, we're going to be told to go. And basically that's what happened. So that club disappeared, which was a real shame, because it was a good, good friendship, but it was very competitive between us. And then when we got into UEFA, I started playing futsal. I started playing futsal with Glasses. I think it was for 3 years, maybe. Got to play for the national team. Played, I think, against Malta. We beat them. Traveled to Malta and Poland for international tournaments. And then a friend of mine, Andrew Lopez, he said he was going to restart Gibraltar United. He said, listen, I'm thinking of this project, starting Gib United again, all locals. And I said, listen, I'm all up for that. I like the idea of having all locals, because I thought at the time there was too much of a foreign influx in Gib. And I said, Wenger, I'm all up for it. And that's where the story started with Gib United.
Well, I mean, you two spent probably, 2-3 seasons together?
Yeah.
It was more or less
yeah,
that,
good 3 seasons, yeah.
Yeah.
Good 3 seasons.
I imagine, 2014, 2015 to last year, something like that, more or less?
Yeah,
I joined Gib United.
Year, yeah.
I joined Gib United the year before they broke the local kind of player rule that they had. The year that we stayed.
Before the con men came flying in.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, look, it was a shame. Yeah. It was a shame what happened to Gib United. I think everybody will admit that, but
yeah. I was absolutely gutted, la verdad, because listen, in my head, my plan, and I always used to tell my wife, I would always wanted to retire where I started. That was one of my main reasons joining Lincoln. But don't get me wrong, I was absolutely gutted what happened to Gib United, because I spent a lot of time. I used to, and Jamie can vouch for this, I used to carry all the equipment. I basically stole my dad's Jeep, filled it up with all the equipment. I used to back and forth, and I did it all, from the heart, because I really liked playing for the club. And I thought, honestly, that the project when they brought Salgado in, the project looked very promising. But the first year we were very close. When that project started, very close to getting into Europa League. It went down to the wire to the last game. And then they started changing the manager. They brought in a manager, which I'm not going to even hide in saying he was anti-local. We heard him say it. If it was up to him, no local player would play. And I wasn't going to stand for that. You know what I mean? So it all started going downhill from there. Then, all this of that cryptocurrency and all that, and it just all went up in the air.
But just tell me one thing, Chino. Sorry, Kyle Chino. We're friends, so I can call you Chino. I think what's great is the first time that I ever saw you. Now you can probably correct me. It wasn't the Belgium game. It could have been the Bosnia game, maybe. When was your first selection for the GFA?
It was when Liechtenstein and Latvia came over.
That was your first.
We had 3 friends. Yeah, we had 3 games. We had 3 friendlies. We actually went to play against San Roque, but we never went as a GFA, because obviously they're not allowed to play against the GFA.
Selection or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I thought we went as GIB 11, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I knew that if at the most I was going to get a half at the San Roque, which I did. That's obviously nobody ever said anything, but I said if I actually going to get any minutes, it's going to be against the San Roque game.
Yeah.
And I played, I think it was the second half or the first half, and I kept a clean sheet. Yeah, I think that it all started from there.
Yeah, because I played that game as well, I remember. Because that trip, those games, I came over while I was doing my PGC. I was playing for Canterbury at the time and then came back. And I remember the Liechtenstein game, I came on the last 20 minutes. Then we played the San Roque game. And then I started the game against Latvia at left back.
Left back?
Must have been a shortage of left back at the time, yeah.